The bell had barely finished ringing when Mrs. Gray walked into room 201 with a boy beside her. Every head turned. He was tall in a plain white shirt, backpack on one shoulder. His eyes were a cool blue, the kind that made people lower their voices without knowing why. Mrs. Gray clapped once. "All right, class. We have a new student joining us today. This is Keller Thorne. He just transferred from New York. Be kind, help him find his way around, and please do not scare him off before lunch." Keller gave a small nod. "Hi, I'm Keller." In the front row, Ella Cole had been drilling practice problems with the focus of a surgeon. She did not look up for noise. But she did look up now, because something in the room changed, like the air had been adjusted by 1 degree. Keller's gaze swept the class once, and for a split second it stopped on her. Ella's pencil paused mid-equation. It was ridiculous. She had rejected more confessions than she could count. People did not make her nervous. And yet, her heart did a traitorous little flip. Mrs. Gray glanced at her seating chart. "Keller, you can take the seat in the second row, next to me," Ella said, hand already in the air. Her voice was bright, confident, and way too loud for someone who was supposedly immune to crushes. Silence hit the room. Mrs. Gray blinked, then smiled. "Well, that works. Keller, you can sit beside Ella." Elias White, the basketball captain, leaned back in his chair like he had been insulted. Keller frowned, clearly not thrilled about being volunteered. Still, he walked down the aisle and took the seat beside Ella. Ella stuck out her hand, smile on full power. "Hi, I'm Ella Cole. We are desk partners now. If you have any questions, you can ask me. I'm ranked first." Public service announcement. Keller looked at her hand like it might be a trick. He did not take it. He only nodded once. "Thanks." Behind them, Lena petrol-mouthed, "You are insane," and gave Ella a thumbs up anyway. Ella leaned closer, lowering her voice. "We can make a deal. First monthly exam, you and me, score battle." Keller opened his textbook. "I'm fine. If I win, you buy me strawberry milk tea," Ella said. "If you win, I buy you double." His eyes shifted toward her for half a second. "We have milk tea in California." Ella gasped. "Not just milk tea, the best milk tea. This is going to change your life." A soft sound escaped his nose. Not a laugh, exactly. More like a skeptical exhale. Ella took it as victory. Mrs. Gray started the lesson, but half the class was watching them. Keller kept reading like none of it existed. Ella kept plotting like she had been given a mission. Keller's pen moved across the page, neat and steady. Ella watched him for 1 second too long, then whispered, "One more thing, Keller." He did not look up. "Our school is full of people who will talk to you for your face," she said. "If you want someone to talk to you for your brain, I'm right here." That finally made him look at her. His expression was unreadable, but his voice softened a fraction. "And if I want someone to leave me alone?" Ella smiled, unbothered. "Then you picked the wrong desk partner." Mrs. Gray cleared her throat. "Since you two are awake, why don't you solve the next problem on the board?" Ella stood up like this was her arena. Keller stood half a second later. 2 pens, 1 board. The whole class held its breath. And Ella thought, I am going to make him smile for real. Ella's desk partner campaign was in full operation. Subtle was for people without straight A's. She kept finding reasons to talk to Keller, to confirm answers she already knew, to drag him into the library under the excuse of mutual supervision. Keller responded with 3-word replies and the stubborn calm of a person who believed silence was armor. At lunch, Lena watched Ella stare across the cafeteria and sighed. "You need a new tactic." Ella's eyes gleamed. "Academic romance." Lena grimaced. "I hate that I know what those words mean." That night, Ella stayed up with graph paper and determination. If Keller respected intelligence, she would speak to him in the language he respected most. Math. She wrote a confession as equations and slipped it into Keller's textbook the next morning. He found it during second period. Ella watched from the corner of her eye, heart pounding like she was running a race in a hallway. Keller unfolded the paper. His brows drew together in concentration. He read the first line. Then he pulled out his pen and started writing. 20 minutes later, he slid the page back to her. The entire paper was covered in neat handwriting. Not one heart. Not one blush. Just steps and corrections. Keller spoke quietly as if he was doing her a favor. "Your second line skips a step. I fixed it. Also, your probability setup assumes independence. It is not. Ella's face turned the color of a fire alarm. Lena leaned over and wheezed. He thinks it is homework. I did not get rejected. Ella hissed. I got peer-reviewed. Across the cafeteria, Elias White dropped into Keller's space with a basketball and a grin. Yo, new guy, we play after school, UN. Keller looked up, expression blank. I don't play. Elias laughed. Everybody plays. Ella stood so fast her chair scraped the floor. She smiled sweetly. Too sweet. Elias, quick question, why are you always in my air? Elias scoffed. I'm inviting him. Ella leaned in, eyes bright. He has plans, with me, studying. Keller choked on his water. Lena slapped the table, laughing. Elias' jaw tightened. Whatever, we will see how long this lasts. He walked off with wounded pride. Keller sat back down slowly, still coughing. You didn't have to do that. He said. Yes, I did. Ella said. You are terrible at social defense. Keller hesitated, then said. Thanks. It was only one word, but it landed like a gift. And when they studied later, Keller explained physics with patient focus, and Ella pretended she did not already know half the answers, just to keep him talking. After school, Ella tried a softer approach. She pushed a worksheet toward Keller and sighed dramatically. I am stuck, she said. Keller glanced down. It was a problem he could solve in seconds. He picked up his pen anyway, because he was not cruel. Start here, he said, tapping the first line. Do not skip the units. Ella leaned in too close on purpose. Like this? She asked, eyes wide. Keller looked up, then immediately looked away, ears turning faintly pink. Yes, he said, voice tighter. Like that. Lena appeared on the other side of the table, sipping a drink like a judge at a talent show. Watching you flirt with homework is giving me a rash, she told Ella. Ella did not look away from Keller. It is strategic. It is embarrassing. Lena corrected. Also effective. He is blushing. Keller cleared his throat. I'm not. You are. Ella said brightly. It is cute. Keller's pen paused midline. Then he finished the solution and slid the paper back without meeting her eyes. Your answer is correct, he said. And your method is acceptable. Ella pressed a hand to her chest. He complimented me. Lena, write it down, time and date. Lena grinned. Already tattooed on my soul. On Friday, Mrs. Gray assigned partner work. She did it with the calm smile of a woman watching dominoes fall in slow motion. Keller, Ella, she said. You are a pair. Everyone else, pick someone quickly. Elias raised his hand. I can work with Ella. Mrs. Gray did not even look up. No. The class snickered. Elias sank back into his chair like he had been physically pushed. Keller and Ella huddled over the same sheet of paper. Their shoulders brushed once. Ella's brain turned into static. Keller pointed at a line, voice low. You wrote the wrong sign. Ella nodded too fast. I did, on purpose, for science. Keller looked at her, confused. For the record, Ella whispered. I am not usually this bad at math. Keller's expression softened. I know. The words were simple, but they felt like a vote of confidence. Ella smiled, smaller than usual, because it was suddenly real. Later, as they packed up, Keller hesitated. He looked at the corrected love letter equation in Ella's notebook. You meant something else, didn't you? He asked. Ella froze. Her whole body went hot. Lena, sitting 2 rows back, silently started counting on her fingers like she was timing a bomb. Ella swallowed. What do you think I meant? Keller's eyes dropped to the paper. He cleared his throat. I thought it was a problem, but it did not feel like a problem. Ella leaned in, voice gentler now. It was not a problem, it was me. Keller's breath caught. For a moment he looked like he might run. Then he nodded once, slow. Okay. He said, barely audible. Ella did not push. Not this time. She only smiled and said, okay. And for the first time, Keller did not feel like a wall. He felt like a door that had started to open. By the time the first monthly exam arrived, the rumor mill had already declared a verdict. Ella Cole was chasing Keller Thorne. Not the other way around. Not a mutual thing. A chase. People were fascinated. People were confused. People were entertained. Lena, naturally, was thriving. Ella. Lena said in the hallway. You have become the school newsletter. You are basically public property now. Ella adjusted her backpack strap. Good, let them watch. I am about to win. Or crash. Lena said. But yes, go off. Keller walked beside Ella, quiet as usual, except now he did not walk 2 steps behind like he used to. He walked even with her. That alone made half the girls in the hallway gasp like they had seen a celebrity hold hands. Elias appeared at the corner, leaning against a locker with forced casualness. He eyed Keller. Ready to lose, New York? Keller did not react. Ready to take a test. Elias smirked at Ella. You sure you want to bet on him? He's going to disappoint you. Ella stopped walking. Keller stopped too. The hallway traffic swerved around them like water around rocks. Ella looked at Elias with a calm so sharp it could cut paper. Say that again. Elias laughed. Come on, you know I am right. He is acting like he is too good for everybody. He sits with you and suddenly he thinks he owns the place. That was enough. Ella stepped closer, voice low but clear. Elias, you are not jealous. You are embarrassed. You cannot stand that I did not pick you. Elias' face reddened. I am not jealous. Right. Ella said. And I am not ranked first. Elias clenched his jaw. Whatever. We will settle it with the scores. If Keller is so great, let him prove it. If he loses, he apologizes in front of the whole school. Keller's eyes narrowed slightly. It was the first time Ella had seen real irritation on his face. He spoke evenly. If I win? Elias shrugged. Then I apologize. Deal. Keller said, before Ella could object. Ella blinked, stunned. He had spoken like someone who meant it. He had stepped in, not hiding behind her. Something warm pulled in her chest. The exam itself was brutal. Ella loved that. Brutal exams were like thunderstorms. Loud, intense, and honest. She finished with 5 minutes to spare. Keller finished with 2 minutes to spare. Elias finished with a dramatic sigh and a shake of his head, like suffering was his brand. The next week, scores posted on the bulletin board. Students crowded around, craning their necks. Lena dragged Ella forward like she was leading a parade. Ella found her name at the top. Rank 1. Perfect. 1 point below, right under her, was Keller Thorne. Rank 2. 1 point behind. A cheer broke out somewhere. Elias elbowed his way through the crowd, eyes scanning. When he saw the list, his mouth fell open for half a second. Then he recovered and pointed at Keller. You lost. 1 point. A loss is a loss. Keller stood still, hands in his pockets. Ella stepped forward, ready to explode, but Keller moved first. He turned to Ella and held out a cup. Strawberry milk tea. Cold. Condensation on the side. The exact thing she had promised. His voice was quiet. I said I would buy you one if you won. Ella stared at the cup as if it was a love confession. It was not a confession. It was better. It was proof he remembered. Lena made a sound like she was witnessing a proposal. Ella took the drink with both hands. But you only lost by 1 point. That means I should buy you one too. Keller's lips curved, just barely. Next time, when I win, you can buy it. Ella's heart stopped. Then it restarted at a faster setting. Because he was smiling. A real smile. Small, shy, like it had been hiding behind his ribs. Around them, the hallway went quiet. Elias looked like he might throw himself into a locker. Fine. Elias muttered, voice bitter. I apologize. He cleared his throat, louder than necessary. I was wrong about Keller. He is not some poser. Keller did not react. Ella did. She lifted her milk tea and took a long sip, eyes never leaving Elias. Then she said. Also, stop talking about my desk partner. It is boring. Lena giggled. She said my desk partner. She claimed you. Keller's ears turned pink. He looked down at his shoes as if they were suddenly fascinating. Later, in the cafeteria, 2 girls approached Keller with nervous smiles. Hey, Keller. One said. Do you want to sit with us? Before Keller could answer, Ella leaned across the table, bright and cheerful. He is busy. She said. He is tutoring me, privately. Keller choked on his water. Lena slapped the table, laughing. Ella, you cannot just say things like that. Ella blinked innocently. Why not? It is true. He tutors me. In private, at a table, in public, with witnesses. The girls backed away, confused and defeated. Keller rubbed his forehead, trying to hide a smile. It did not work. After school, they walked to the library. The sky was the soft gold of late afternoon. Ella sipped her milk tea and watched Keller out of the corner of her eye. "You were brave," she said. Keller glanced at her. "About what?" "About Elias," Ella said. "You did not have to accept his deal." Keller was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "He was insulting you too, not just me." Ella felt her throat tighten. She looked away fast, pretending to be very interested in a passing squirrel. "Well," she said lightly, "I can handle insults. I am ranked first, remember." Keller's voice softened. "I know." They kept walking. Their shoulders did not touch. But the space between them felt smaller than it had before. And Ella thought, I am not chasing anymore. He is starting to meet me halfway. Spring arrived like a warning. The air warmed. The days lengthened. And the calendar screamed, college. Finals. SAT, AP. Everything. Ella had always been good under pressure. Pressure was just a number you managed. Until it was not. She started staying up later. One practice test became two. Two became three. Her desk looked like a paper factory had exploded. Lena watched her with increasing concern. "Okay," Lena said one afternoon. "You are officially entering your villain era. The dark circles are getting dramatic." Ella forced a laugh. "It is fine. I am fine. I thrive." "You are not thriving," Lena said. "You are haunting." Keller sat beside Ella, quiet, eyes flicking over her notes. He had begun bringing her hot milk in the mornings without a word, setting it down like a small ritual. At first Ella had acted like it was nothing. Then she had started waiting for it without admitting it. Now she looked at the cup and felt something in her chest ease, like a knot loosening. On the day of the second full-length mock exam, Ella's hands shook. It made her angry. Hands did not shake. Not hers. She scored lower than she had in months. Not terrible. But not her. When she saw the ranking list, her vision blurred anyway. After school, she walked to the library and sat in the far corner behind a shelf, where no one could see the queen bee crack. Then she did crack. Quietly. Ugly. The kind of crying that made your throat hurt. A shadow fell across the floor. Ella did not look up. She knew the steps. Steady. Unhurried. Keller. He sat down beside her without asking. He did not say, "Are you okay?" He did not say, "You should not cry." He only pulled a packet of tissues from his backpack and held it out. Ella took one, wiping her face fast. "This is embarrassing." Keller's voice was low. "It is normal." Ella laughed once, bitter. "Normal is not in my brand." Keller looked at her, eyes serious. "Your brand is not a person." That hit harder than any score. Ella swallowed. "I dropped to fifth." She whispered. "Just on a mock exam, but still, what if I mess up the real one? What if I disappoint everyone?" Keller was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Everyone is not taking the test. You are." Ella sniffed. "That is not comforting." "It is," Keller said, steady. "Because it means you control it, not them." She stared at him. His face was calm, but his hands were clenched slightly on his knees, like he was fighting his own nerves to be here with her. "I am scared," Ella admitted, voice small. "I have never been scared of a test." Keller's gaze softened. "Then do what you always do, prepare, and also sleep." Ella scoffed. "Sleep is for people who do not want Stanford." Keller's mouth twitched. "Stanford will still be there if you sleep." Ella let out a shaky breath. It almost sounded like a laugh. Keller reached into his backpack and pulled out a small notebook. He slid it toward her. "I wrote out a schedule," he said, as if this was the most normal thing in the world. "For you, it has breaks." Ella blinked. "You made me a study plan." Keller looked away. "You were spiraling. I thought it would help." Ella's eyes stung again, but not from panic this time. "You are kind," she whispered. Keller's shoulders tensed. "I am not always good at showing it." Ella nudged him with her elbow. "You are showing it right now, Mr. Spreadsheet." He glanced at her, then down at the notebook, then back. His voice was careful. "If you follow it, you will be fine." Ella swallowed the lump in her throat. "And if I do not?" Keller met her eyes. "Then we adjust. Together. Together." The word warmed her like sunlight. Over the next weeks, they became a unit. Keller helped Ella cut her endless problem sets into manageable chunks. Ella forced Keller to take breaks even if it meant dragging him outside to walk around the quad. They traded flashcards at lunch like secret agents. Lena watched them with the satisfaction of someone who had bet on a long game. One evening, after a late study session, they walked across campus under the glow of streetlights. Ella's shoulders finally felt lighter. Keller's posture finally looked less guarded. Ella spoke softly. "When you transferred here, you acted like you wanted nobody near you." Keller's jaw tightened. He stared ahead. "I did. And now?" Ella said. "You are literally making me study schedules." Keller let out a small exhale. "You are hard to ignore." Ella grinned. "Is that a compliment?" Keller's ears went pink again. "It is a fact." Ella laughed, bright and relieved. She bumped his shoulder with hers. This time, he did not move away. He only walked with her, matching her pace, like he had been doing it longer than a semester. In the distance, Elias watched them from the steps of the gym, basketball under his arm. He looked away first. For once, he did not approach. For once, he did not pick a fight. It was like even he could see it now. This was not a chase. This was a choice. One night, Ella sent Keller a message at 1:12 a.m. It was a photo of her desk, covered in papers, with a caption. "If I die, delete my browser history." Keller replied immediately. "Go to sleep." Ella typed back. "Sleep is for people with lower standards." Keller appeared at her front door the next morning with 2 coffees and a look that could have qualified as a scolding. He held out 1 cup. "Drink, then breathe." Ella took it, blinking. "You came over." Keller's gaze flicked to her messy hair and tired eyes. "You look like you are losing a fight with your own brain," he said. Ella laughed weakly. "I am." Keller set his backpack down and opened his notebook. He did not ask permission. He did not make a speech. He simply started organizing her chaos into clean boxes, 1 page at a time. When Ella's eyes started to sting again, she tried to hide it by staring at her coffee. Keller's voice softened. "You do not have to be perfect every day." Ella swallowed. "If I am not perfect, what am I?" Keller looked at her like the answer was obvious. "You are Ella," he said. "That is enough." The room went quiet. Outside, the neighborhood was still waking up. Inside, Ella felt the pressure loosen, just a little. She reached for his hand, careful, like she was touching a fragile thing. Keller's fingers curled around hers. He did not pull away. He only held on, steady. Graduation came in a blur of caps and parents crying into their phones. A month later, the airport felt like a different kind of graduation. Ella hugged Keller so tight he had to shift his suitcase with his foot. "You will call me every day," she said. "Every day. No excuses." Keller's arms tightened around her. "I will. And you will not become friends with random girls who suddenly need help with their homework." Keller hesitated. "What if they actually need help?" Ella glared. "Then they can use the internet." Keller's mouth twitched. "Okay." Lena sniffed loudly behind them. "This is disgusting." "I love it." Ella pressed her forehead to Keller's. "I will miss you." Keller said it back, quiet but clear. "I will miss you too." Stanford was sun and palm trees. MIT was concrete and wind. So they built a bridge out of nightly video calls and stubborn devotion. They studied on camera. They ate dinner on camera. Sometimes they fell asleep on camera. When the distance felt sharp, they bought tickets instead of arguing with the calendar. The first surprise was Ella's. She took a long train ride to MIT with a backpack full of snacks and showed up outside Keller's dorm like a hurricane in a sundress. Keller stepped out, saw her and froze. "Ella." She ran at him and jumped. He caught her automatically, breath knocked out. "I missed you," she announced into his shoulder. "Also, I brought cake." Keller held her tighter. "You are insane." "I am romantic," Ella corrected. She got sick the next day. Keller bought medicine, made soup in the dorm kitchen, and tucked a blanket around her shoulders with careful hands. Ella watched him and felt her chest ache. "You do not have to be tough with me," Keller said, brushing her hair back. A month later, Keller returned the surprise. He showed up at Stanford with a hoodie pulled up, trying to be invisible. Ella spotted him anyway and sprinted across the quad. At a coffee shop, a lab partner handed Ella flowers. Before Ella could respond, Keller stepped forward, voice calm but edged with something new. She is my girlfriend. The guy backed off fast. Ella stared at Keller, delighted. You got jealous. Keller's face heated. I did not. You did. Ella said, hooking her arm through his. And it was cute. Long distance was hard. But every time the wall rose, they climbed it together. Distance did not win. They did. The distance did not only test their patience. It tested their schedules, their tempers, and their ability to survive bad Wi-Fi. Once, Ella called Keller in the middle of his lab meeting by accident. He answered with his camera off and whispered, Ella, I'm in a meeting. Ella froze. Oh my God, hang up right now. I can't. Keller whispered back. If I move, they will see me panicking. Ella clapped a hand over her mouth to stop laughing. Then she texted him, I am so sorry, and followed it with 20 crying emojis. Keller replied 2 hours later with a single line. You owe me milk tea. Another time Keller sent Ella a care package. It arrived with a note taped to the top. I am sorry I cannot be there, so I sent supplies. Inside were flu medicine, highlighters in her favorite color, and a small keychain shaped like a calculator. Ella held it to her chest and called Lena immediately. Tell me you are crying. Lena demanded. I am not crying. Ella lied, voice cracking. You are crying. Lena said, satisfied. They fought once, for real, during midterms. Ella had missed 3 calls in a row. Keller had been awake, waiting, pretending he was not waiting. When Ella finally called back, breathless and guilty, Keller's voice was quiet, too quiet. You forgot. He said. I did not forget. Ella snapped. I was drowning in work. So was I. Keller said, still quiet. But I still called. Ella's chest tightened. She hated feeling wrong. She hated feeling far away. She hated that love could feel like pressure sometimes. Do you want me to drop out and move to Boston? She blurted. Keller went silent. Then he exhaled, slow. No. He said. I want you to sleep. I want you to eat. I want you to stop trying to prove you can do everything alone. Ella's eyes stung. Her voice went small. I miss you. Keller's voice softened immediately, like his anger had never existed. I miss you too. He said. That is the whole problem. They made up the way they always made up. With honesty. With a plan. With Ella promising to text. Busy. Instead of disappearing and Keller promising to stop pretending he was fine when he was not. On winter break, they met in the middle. New York, where Keller's family had moved back for work. Ella flew in, cheeks cold from the wind, and spotted Keller waiting near baggage claim. He looked taller, older, but his eyes were the same calm blue. Ella ran at him. He caught her, spinning once, and for a second the airport noise disappeared. Hi. Keller said against her hair. Ella smiled into his jacket. Hi, I am here. You can stop being lonely now. Keller's arms tightened. I was not lonely. Ella pulled back to look at him. Liar. Keller's mouth twitched. Okay, I was. They spent the break doing normal things that felt like miracles. Grocery shopping. Movie nights. Studying at the same table. Falling asleep without a screen between them. When it was time to separate again, Ella did not cry in the airport. She only squeezed Keller's hand and said. We are doing this. We are winning. Keller nodded. We are. And the distance, for once, felt smaller. For years passed fast, full of deadlines and small victories. Ella graduated Stanford with honors. Keller finished MIT, then stayed for research, steadier now, less guarded. They visited when they could and built routines across states. On Stanford's graduation day, Keller found Ella near the fountain. He took her hand. His thumb rubbed her knuckles like he was grounding himself. You are staring. Ella teased. Do I have something on my face? You have everything. Keller said. Ella froze. That did not sound like Keller's usual sentence structure. That sounded like a man about to do something dramatic. He led her a few steps forward. Then he went down on one knee, right there in the sunlight. He pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a ring that caught the light like a promise. Ella Cole. He said, voice steady. The first day I met you, you scared me. Ella laughed through tears. Because I am terrifying. Because you were brave. Keller corrected. I was trying to disappear. You did not let me. You made me a home anyway. He swallowed. I want to choose you forever. Will you marry me? Yes. Ella said, crying and laughing at the same time. Yes. A year later, they married at Berkeley Prep, under white lights in the courtyard. Mrs. Gray smiled in the front row like she had planned it from the beginning. Lena cried harder than anyone, then laughed at herself for crying, then cried again. After the party softened into warm noise, Ella and Keller slipped into room 201. Their old desks were still there. "Do you remember the first day you came here?" Ella asked. "You yelled." Keller said. "I confidently projected." Ella corrected. Keller laughed. "Easy now. You locked me in." "I did." Ella said, leaning closer. "And I would do it again." Keller brushed his fingers over her ring. "You did not just lock me in," he said. "You let me out." Ella blinked fast. "Stop saying perfect things. I have makeup on." Keller kissed her forehead. "Thank you for being brave enough for both of us." Years later, when they told their kids the story, Ella always started the same way. "I saw him walk into my classroom," she would say, eyes bright. "And I decided he was mine." Keller would sigh, pretend to protest, and pull her closer. Because everyone had known. The whole school had known. After the wedding, they built a life that looked simple from the outside and precious from the inside. Ella started at a tech company in the Bay Area, sharp and fearless in meetings. Keller took a research position nearby because he was done living on opposite coasts. They rented a small place with too many books and not enough closet space. They argued about whose turn it was to do the dishes. They kissed in the kitchen anyway. Lena visited every weekend at first, claiming she was checking on the product. Ella threw a pillow at her. Keller made Lena tea like she belonged there, because she did. One afternoon, Ella and Keller returned to Berkeley Prep for a fundraiser. They walked past the gym, past the lockers, past the courtyard lights that had once been wedding lights. A group of students stared at them the way their class used to stare at new drama. Ella grinned. A girl whispered, "Is that Ella Cole?" A boy whispered back, "Yeah, she's a legend." Mrs. Gray found them near the old bulletin board, eyes warm. "I told you," she said to Ella, "that you could teach anyone something." Ella laughed. "I taught him how to survive me." Keller corrected softly. "You taught me how to stay." Mrs. Gray smiled like she had just watched a proof land perfectly. Years later, when their child asked how they met, Ella sat on the couch and launched into it like it was her favorite story. "There was a transfer student," she said, eyes sparkling. "And the whole school lost its mind. But I lost mine first." Keller, sitting beside her, pretended to sigh. "You yelled," he reminded. "I confidently projected," Ella said, offended. Their child giggled. Ella pointed at Keller like she was presenting evidence. "And then he thought my love letter was homework." Keller's ears turned pink, even after all those years. "It was formatted like homework," he argued. "It was formatted like love." Ella corrected, then leaned in and kissed his cheek. The child laughed again and threw an arm around both of them. And Keller, once so quiet he had tried to disappear, held on easily, like the happiest thing in the world was not a secret anymore.
Thanks for watching. Follow for more romance stories.